Welcome to a very, very special SJ News. We are here to talk about one thing, and that is the High School Musical live performance at the Disney Plus panel at D23. I'm with Dan. I'm with Ed. We just saw a whole lot of stuff.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We're going to do our best to break this down. Thank you guys for coming in, hanging out with us. Let's start Star Wars. So, so first of all, we're going to focus on the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. Monday, we're going to do a full weekend of D23, catch up on SJU. So that's when we'll talk World According to Jeff Goldblum. That's when we'll talk about the very bleak sounding Lizzie McGuire reboot. And that's when we'll talk about Encore, which sounds insane. I didn't think that on a panel that introduced a ton of new Star Wars and Ewan McGregor coming back, that Encore would be the thing I'm most looking forward to on Disney Plus, but here we are. That said, let's talk Star Wars. The Age of Republic, the Age of Rebellion, and the Age of Resistance. We got a ton of new information. The Clone Wars, David Filoni's Clone Wars is returning in February 2020. I don't know if either of you are Clone Wars series fans.
I am not a fan, but I'm also
this
not
guy
a fan.
is.
Yes.
I hear you. I hear you. This
the
guy
Clone
is,
Wars,
he loves it.
The Clone Wars have always been a good way to retcon the stupid stuff from live movies.
Well,
so.
yeah, it's like it almost makes the stuff you didn't like from the prequels like quick newsreels.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, and then like the Clone Wars series is
And
the thing
here's
of it.
here's that Anakin Skywalker character development you ordered.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
kind of what it's for.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. They didn't really get a chance to close that series out well at all. So I'm really excited that they get to go back and sort of fix that. We're getting Cassian Andor series, which has been described as sort of a spy series about him and K2. I didn't love Rogue. I liked all the elements of Rogue One, but for whatever reason, like the stew didn't come together.
Rogue One is maybe my favorite of the new Star Wars movies, and that includes
Okay.
I like this.
That includes the episodic ones too. Maybe that and Force Awakens, but I really liked Rogue One. However, that aesthetic actually made me more excited for The Mandalorian, which we'll talk about, than wanting to see more of Cassian Andor.
Well, he's been in this fight since he was 7 years old.
We'll see that.
Yeah, and I guess it was
Every year of it.
Yep, every year of it. Every season will be Cassian at a different age.
The boyhood of Star Wars.
The big reveal at the end of the night, and then we'll get into The Mandalorian, because that's the thing that we actually got some substance on, and I'd rather yell about a trailer than a logo.
Yeah.
But the big, surprise, of course, was Kenobi. There he is. Look at that beautiful beard. Hello there. Ewan McGregor came out and said, Kathy, in front of all these witnesses, can you ask me if I'll play Obi-Wan again? And Kathy said, Ewan, are you playing Obi-Wan again? And he said, yes. And then we're going to do it. It's been written. They're starting to film it next year. There was no title announced. Dan, in your best Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi impression, how excited are you about that?
Another happy announcement.
Hello there to my hype for this series.
Yeah, it's happening, which I think we kind of already sort of pretty much knew.
Yeah. I mean, there was
more or less. There was the whole thing of like, it's a rumor, but when a rumor like that drops the week of D23, I think, odds are pretty heavy that they might be doing that. But would have been fun if they could have kept a lid on that, because I feel like the cat was out of the bag a week ago when it sort of trickled out. But I pitched a couple of ideas that excited me when we were first talking about it. So I will just wait and see what direction they will go. As I mentioned, I don't want to see space. And I actually had hoped that it was going to be set on Tatooine, but now that I wonder if we've seen The Mandalorian, which looks like it's heavily set or perhaps entirely set on Tatooine, I wonder if they're going to do 2 Tatooine set.
I mean, look, it's a money-saving thing. You got one set. Mandalorian's got it for an hour, and then jazz band's got practice.
It's like how we used to do it here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Flash and Friends needs to go live in like 20 minutes, man. So wrap it up.
Oh no, and one thing that's interesting about this whole thing of we're exploring the stuff that we didn't get to see in the earlier parts of the lore, and stuff that I guess comes later in the lore. Like, I mean, what period of time are we theorizing that this covers? Is what I'm saying.
So this will be somewhere between
before
the
death,
prequels
obviously.
and somewhere between prequels and he's Alec Guinness. I guess, somewhere. And just to chat, it's a series. It's not going to be a movie.
It was a Disney Plus panel.
Yeah, Disney Plus. Everything's going to be on Disney Plus. Everything is Disney Plus shows and movies. It'll be somewhere in there-ish. We've been talking about is he just like guarding Luke? Is he going off on wacky adventures?
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a reality where it's kind of like those scenes in like Back to the Future or the Avengers where they go back to the past and you're just sort of tiptoeing behind a scene we all know.
Right? Yeah.
Are they gonna do that? Like Luke's trying to get some power converters, like little Luke's looking for some power converters. There'll be trouble.
Could they create a little Tatooine universe there so that it ties into the Mandalorian? That might be kind of cool because we're dealing with already this sort of underworld, scum and villainy, as Obi-Wan would say. I wonder if they may be trying to create a little mini universe here of just like.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting. The stories could touch thematically because I know Mandalorian takes place after Jedi, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So timeline wise, they don't touch.
They don't. Yeah.
But
I didn't know that
doesn't mean like thematically, character-wise, like stuff can still sort of echo each other, which I think could be sort of fun and interesting. Yes, Andrea Gilly, they are making a Lizzie McGuire sequel series, and it sounds weird. Lizzie McGuire aside, the Mandalorian trailer was legit one of the first times I've been like super pumped about a thing in a while. My jaded, cynical punk ass melted away, and I got very excited about bounty hunters and death troopers.
Like I said, I think it might be the first Star Wars thing I've been excited for in years because y'all know me. I hate magic, and I kind of hate Force magic because I just feel like all the Force heads go, well, you see, the Force failed in this instance because duh, but the Force didn't in this instance because duh. I'm just tired of that. I'm real tired of that. I want to see the real people of the world. You know what I mean? As Floyd Gondoli and Boogie Nights was talking about. I want to see the real.
When
people.
I think Mandalorian, I always think Boogie Nights.
You know what I mean? I want to see
Carl Weathers.
the real people, the people with jobs, the people we make your space food. We farm your blue milk. We are the 99% of the Star Wars universe. I want to see those people. I would love that.
And that's what, when I talked about the aesthetic, is what really kind of turned me on and why it reminded me of Rogue One. One of the things I loved about Rogue One was that Star Wars has always been operatically dark. Rogue One was much more about the actual darkness that would exist in that kind of a world. The actual, like, what is the actual nitty gritty of the rebellion? And one of the things that I love the most is that involves true sacrifice. Like ruinous mass sacrifice. That's what I liked a lot about Rogue One, and why, as I revisit it, I appreciate it a little bit more as time goes on. And that's what I like about The Mandalorian, is it's showing me a little pocket of the universe where you get to go a little bit deeper into something you haven't seen before. It's hopefully, at least from the looks of it, it's not another tale in the Skywalker saga. It's not even, it doesn't appear to be telling you about a character that you already know. It's like, okay, we've seen glimpses of this. Let's go deeper into this. And that's what turns me on at this point as a Star Wars fan the most. Is show me these little pockets that I don't know about. Well, and play in that sandbox.
And it seems like that's what you're going to get, because thank you for segueing so beautifully into that. Like, we're like the best shirtless volleyball duo, just serving up, spiking it. So Favreau described The Mandalorian as a Star Wars where gunfighters are roaming and the people are fighting for their own safety. It's a dangerous world, and it's because it's set after Jedi. The Empire's been overthrown. There's no replacement government yet, so everything is just in complete chaos. And that sounds really cool to me. Like, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, this idea that you have a complete the galaxy is set on this infrastructure, the scaffolding. It was an oppressive one, but it was also the bedrock on which everything was built. And what happens when literally overnight it's deposed? And there's nothing there. No, but you have, as we saw, stormtroopers, soldiers that are left to their own wiles. Does the chain of command break down? That's interesting. That's an interesting question to me. I'm sure a lot of people have read Star Wars EU books and stuff that went into that. I have not personally. So
in some of the Star Wars EU books, some of the most interesting stuff, and they did bring it back for Force Awakens, which is there are pockets that kind of don't even know the war's over, or they're just sort of, we were doing maneuvers out near Rigel 7, and now these fools told us we've been overthrown. Nah, that's fake news. You know what I mean? And they continue to be the Empire until someone tells them no. Yeah. Because they're beholden to that infrastructure, almost like prisoners. Like, what are we going to do in the world?
You know, admirals that are like, I've got 4 Star Destroyers. We're the biggest pocket of the Empire.
Yeah,
left.
Grand
like,
Admiral
I'm the
Thrawn.
Emperor now. You know,
yeah,
that
Grand
kind of
Admiral Thrawn does that stuff. Yeah.
Something I really like about the Mandalorian trailer is I'm like you. I didn't super get into the EU coming up as a lad, so I wasn't hugely attached to it. And while I understand that, like, just being like, this doesn't count anymore, like, wrecked a lot of Star Wars fans' lives, because they're like, but this is, what are you doing? Like, I get a chance now to like have an EU and like watch a universe expand, which I think is kind of cool. Like the new, or the Age of Resistance, I guess, now gets the same opportunity to flesh out that the original trilogy got.
The Wild Wild West is a really apt. Obviously, they're professional writers, so they know how to sell their thing.
Yeah.
But that's a really apt metaphor. It's like people talk about the police in Los Angeles, as far as, or California proper. We're basically just a big gang that had to get started. We have to start this big gang because other gangs are messing us up. Yeah. So what a Mandalorian gang and these other gang rides dewbacks, and they're just like, I love that, the sort of 1920s prohibition / Western in space. Oh, and that was my favorite part of the trailer. That was so sick.
Yes,
I gasped when that happened. I was like, that's tight.
Yeah, I know. I love.
And really proof positive of why no one should have an Irish door. It's an accident waiting to happen.
They're just dangerous.
They're just dangerous. I know they look cool, but is the look worth losing a limb over?
It's like, okay,
I don't know.
I got a new door. It's like a Doctor Strange portal. You know, it's like, why would you have that?
So I think this is an interesting thing about The Mandalorian, because watching the trailer, it felt to me sort of like that philosophy that everyone has approaching it, that it needs to feel lived in, like it needs to be practical and this and that. You know, that was, you know, there were stories that came out of Rogue One where he's like, it was really important that we use practical sets and stuff. And the day George Lucas came to visit the Rogue One set was the day that they had to spend 6 hours because a crane couldn't lift a spaceship correctly, and he's just stressing out with George Lucas right behind him, and George is like, this could all be computers.
Take a green highlighter there.
This feels practical and lived in, but so this is a little while back, Danielle Radford for Nerdist, you traitor, did an interview with Jon Favreau about Lion King. And asked him about Mandalorian, and he said, interestingly, even though The Mandalorian is science fiction, it's Star Wars, it uses a lot of the same technology. In the case of Lion King, they're using this game engine technology to use a virtual reality environment in which to shoot with live action techniques. They're doing the same thing with The Mandalorian. They're using game engine technology to do camera visual effects. Which is really like, I guess it all goes back to that smart mix of practical and digital, because in The Lion King, it just all, to me, looks like a weird game of Unreal Tournament with lions.
Uncanny Valley Tournament?
Yeah, Uncanny Valley Tournament Live. But with this, it really does mostly all look practical. I mean, I've only watched the trailer twice and spent most of it just going... So, like, I haven't really, like, fine-tooth combed it yet, but...
But what if the lions were dogs, Joe?
Don't sully this with that Lady in the Tramp trailer, Dan. I will not have it.
Look, we have a rescue dewback as the star of The Mandalorian.
It's got Alita eyes, and someone's gonna kiss it. Thoughts on any other thoughts on The Mandalorian trailer?
I mean, Giancarlo Esposito. Mm-hmm. Great reveal, great role for him. You know, 'cause he seems to, as he gets older, he's always been able to do menace. But as he gets older, the menace gets more menacing, if that makes any sense, you know? And it's not always chewing scenery. He can, that look is just like, you messed up. I got all these death troopers.
And Carl Weathers. We got a stew going, baby.
Carl flipping Weathers. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Don't get me started, man.
I love, like, not an age crack, but like, Star Wars is supposed to feel old and lived in, and these are some grizzled, badass dudes.
I want him playing time-traveling Apollo Creed. I want Apollo Creed to have broken through the space-time. Ivan Drago punched him through the space-time continuum.
Punched him into another world.
And he landed on Tatooine. Damn, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like Superboy. He just punches you so hard he ruins the universe. Yeah. I love Carl Weathers, and I love the fact that one thing I do like about this is it's playing on things like, just as Star Wars has always played on well-worn themes that we enjoy, the samurai, the cowboy, this, that, and the other. I think this is doing that. And when you cast these guys, their history, there's something that it's almost like when Quentin Tarantino cast John Travolta or Pam Grier or Robert Foster. These people where it's like the people who know who Robert Foster is start to feel something when they see his face.
Sure.
We feel, all three of us at this table felt something when we saw Giancarlo Esposito, Carl Weathers.
The first time Herzog spoke.
Werner Herzog, yeah.
That was the big pop at this table.
Dark part of your heart.
It's very complicated, Jean. Super stoked.
Like the inner workings of a pocket watch. It's very complicated.
Dan, are you sold
On
The Mandalorian?
I'm excited. Yeah, I enjoyed that trailer. I enjoyed the first look at it, and I am looking forward to the series. Yeah,
Right on.
it's probably the of the stuff that we've seen, which is not much, but from Disney Plus, this is looks pretty cool. I'm on board.
I don't know how many different ways I can yell about the trailer, but I would. Let's talk about Marvel though, because holy crap, they dropped a bunch of Marvel stuff.
Yeah, they keep.
We have the actual
Ryan
press
is.
release now.
Oh, we have
sweet.
the actual press
so that has
release.
everything in it, just in case.
Thank you, Ryan.
I got
Thank you.
Live TV.
Live
folks.
TV.
If you showed your face on camera, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm gonna read this and talk at the same time. Okay. So let's start. What If series. This is from Kevin Feige. The 23 films of the MCU that will have one difference in each episode. The voice cast is ridiculous. It's like everyone except the heaviest hitters, pretty much.
Yeah, and some of the heavy hitters too.
Yeah, a few of the heavy hitters. There was a little bit of footage shown. We saw a Winter Soldier Bucky fighting a zombie Captain America, which this makes me
to that point even.
right. This makes me feel good because the What If comics just always went immediately horribly bleak.
Oh,
Like immediately, even if
so
the,
depressing.
Yeah, even if the episode was like, "What if Vision wore jeans?" Like somehow, it led to just everyone being murdered, Wanda's spine being torn out.
Thanos. There's denim on Earth, and then he comes and he kills the Vision instantly.
And everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Star-Lord in Guardians 1 trying to steal the orb. He takes off his helmet. It looks like it's T'Challa. And then Peggy coming out of the super soldier chamber, all buff, and then dressed in a Captain Britain type costume, teaming with the Howling Commandos, and a skinny Steve in bulky Iron Man Mark 1 type armor. So yeah,
it's just the idea that, and that's what I like is this weird thing of like, what if Howard Stark built Steve Rogers a suit of armor? That kind of stuff is fun. I've been on board with the what ifs for quite a while, and if they do go this weird zombie routes and stuff, I'm even more. I've also been on the record saying like I want it to depart as much as it can from the movies, because that's what I loved about the comics was it could go so many different ways that you never even thought of, and bring in characters you wouldn't have imagined into these stories, and I hope that they continue to do that.
Well, and also anybody from Wakanda, whether it's T'Challa and they saw it properly or not, anybody from Wakanda in space around the time of Guardians of the Galaxy getting the, I guess, Power Stone would be incredible. You know what I mean? It goes with the Wakandan aesthetic. It's purple. You know what I mean? It's obviously a very powerful weapon for an advanced society to get.
What song is T'Challa dancing to?
Oh yeah, huh? I don't. You know what? I think he's one of those people who's like, music is a distraction for losers. When I am in battle or when I'm doing my stuff, that's what I'm doing.
Well, it
But
makes
that's
me
what
wonder if
Star
Chris
Wars so
Pratt,
awesome.
if he's in space, if Chris Pratt is the king of Wakanda.
Doubt it.
See how that happens.
I mean, there's like a few weird steps, but you can get there. We had the What If series.
M'Baku would let that happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna backtrack out of that one.
I think an M'Baku, a king fight between M'Baku and Star-Lord, I think would be pretty one-sided affair. Somebody be at the bottom of a waterfall is what I'm saying.
I want to see a country Bucky and a Chris Pratt that never left Missouri on Earth just having a country ass fight in Wakanda. Like, this y'all's king? Is this y'all's king?
Grass-fed, sweet tea drinking, never left Earth. Chris Pratt would definitely be Parks and Rec shaped Chris Pratt. I'd actually be kind of into it. We got some stuff, some info on the Loki show. This obviously answers where Loki went after Endgame. The logline is Loki, the god of mischief, pops up throughout human history as an unlikely influencer on historical events, which is kind of Doctor Who-y, but it's kind of Doctor Who-y. So this is about Loki's redemption. Director Kate Herron is on for all 6 episodes. I think she is the showrunner of Sex Education on Netflix. You guys talk while I fact check that.
Loki through space and time.
Well, look, I'm very glad that it's 6. That's 6 issues. I'm going to call them issues now because I'm a real comic dork.
I like it.
I kind of like that just because it's like it's not trying to go on the ongoing rehabilitation of Loki is a forever problem. It's not going to get resolved in 6 episodes. It's a forever problem.
Yeah.
So, but going back to certain periods in history to show Marvel type god characters interacting with that at all, and the lessons that they might learn about Midgard, as it were, I think that's interesting. Him learning different aspects about us and our humanity throughout history, rather than just looking at us as crummy, inferior aliens, which he would have to see us as. That could be interesting, I think.
How does he travel through time? It's the space stuff.
So anyway, Loki travels through time.
I guess we'll find out.
Well, they're going to put a taped label on it. It says time and space. Just time and then put it on there.
Kate Herron, the director, was the director on several episodes of Sex Education on Netflix, which, if you haven't watched, you should. It's an absolute delight. I think she's a good fit for, like, weird, Britishy, Tom Hiddleston, Loki comedy.
Yeah.
Which is how I pitch this show. Yeah,
so Britishy Tom Hiddleston Loki comedy.
Yeah. I just want to find out that weird Chinese commercial where he's making breakfast for the camera is actually tied into this. That's really kind of all I care about. That's really absolutely all I care about. Stop asking logic questions about these shows, Dan.
I mean, I'm sure they'll explain it, but it just popped in my head.
It shouldn't have. Love all of this. Falcon.
Shots wearing off, Joe. What? Who are you people? What's going on?
Oh!
When does X-Men Origins Wolverine come out?
X-Men Wolverine.
Loki.
This is truly the darkest timeline.
Like, where's Spencer? Who are you? We got Falcon and Winter Soldier. Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan showed up. Emily Van Camp confirmed to return as Sharon Carter. Wyatt Russell, from Overlord and also from being Kurt Russell's son, is playing John Walker, aka U.S. Agent. So I guess that sort of feeds into, I believe the premise that had been floating around was the idea that the government has some other ideas about who they want to be Captain America, and I'm assuming it is U.S. Agent, who is Captain America, but mean and cusses.
Well, yeah, U.S. Agent, back in the comics at least, he was a superpowered character. He was one of, there was a short period in the 50s where Captain America had superpowers. He was super strong, and I think they kind of retconned that out because it kind of took away some of his heroism. But there was a guy called the Power Broker who basically made a wrestling federation.
Hey, I like that.
Of super powerful people who like did super slams on each other and beat each other up with approximately Spider-Man's level of super strength. One of these guys was John Walker, who got involved in the government when Captain America decided not to be Captain America, went off on his sabbatical. They were like, look, we need another Aryan up in here. And so they picked John Walker, who was a badass, strong-ass dude, but he was mentally unstable and a jerk.
Yeah.
So for a while, a mentally unstable jerk that looked the part.
And then they moved him to the Avengers West Coast.
Oh, yeah. I guess he redeemed himself later, but yeah, he was. But it ends up putting over Steve Rogers as such an iconic character, and I think it'll work the same as in putting over Anthony Mackie. You don't like this skinny, weird, unsuperpowered Cap? Look at this jerk. You know, I think it'll work the same way.
Yeah, there are a lot of characters that I think sort of make Steve a character in a way, like because they're almost like it seems like they'd almost be just like constantly reacting to what he was all about and his legacy and blah blah blah. New York's practically a character in our show. It's so good. And then WandaVision, which I'm really excited about. So the teaser for WandaVision intercut footage from 1960s Dick Van Dyke Show with Wanda and Vision from the movies with like this ominous music beginning to build. So it went from like all like wacky and playful to just this weird dark music. Yeah. So it was described as half classic sitcom, half MCU spectacle. Our own managing editor, Eric Goldman, who was in the room, based on watching the footage, was like, this has to be some kind of weird like trippy world Wanda's created. Which in the comics would be something along the lines of what led to House of M.
House of M, yeah.
So in the comics, they had kids. The kids died.
The kids were like made of magic.
Yeah, they weren't real. That's it. They weren't real. They weren't real. So then when someone was like, "Hey, your kids were fake," she like went nuts. Hey, I just think this concept is super fun and kind of dark and bleak. We got Kat Dennings in it as Darcy from Thor 1 and 2. Everyone knows I'm a Darcy stan.
Yep.
Ed?
Yeah, I think this office likes Darcy.
Yeah.
Big day for Eric.
Big day for Eric.
Yeah.
Dan, how do you feel about Darcy?
How do I feel about Darcy?
Does she deserve a last name?
She has one.
Does she?
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that she has one. She's no,
not
Darcy.
Wanda. Darcy.
Quiet, you.
Yeah. You got on camera once today. Someone in chat asked me to be nicer to you. No. No.
You don't even have a dog, Ryan.
Lewis.
Darcy Lewis.
I was going to say Lewis. I swear to God, I was going to say Lewis.
I believe you.
And I did.
Randall Park is back in as Jimmy Woo. Who
That's
played
awesome.
in the Wasp, which I'm super pumped about. Love me, Randall Park. And only actor currently active.
Well, I don't want to say
maybe,
that was a little off
maybe?
of speculation. I was
Sorry,
not ready
no.
for that to be put up to
Sorry, I
the
apologize.
rigors of the internet's
I
fact.
apologize.
Yes, currently holds a part.
An actor.
Currently holds a part of a living character in both the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Universe, in the Aquaman franchise and Ant-Man. But also,
Nice.
I know that Jaimin Hunsu was in. I just was speculating in The Office.
So
But I don't know if he's the only one.
Max Shackman's directing.
Discuss.
And, well, rounding out this cast, which I'm pumped about, is Kathryn Hahn as a nosy sitcom neighbor in the weird sitcom world part of this. Character doesn't have a name. I don't need one. Kathryn Hahn's awesome. She's like the secret weapon in Step Brothers and.
Well, I mean, number one,
stuff.
she's super great, but number two, I think a great usage of her talent and her everything about her is what Eric is speculating, which is either she's going to be the villain or someone else from the comics, or this is just me freestyling now, probably the person who pokes a hole in the facade. You know, she's the one that's like, hey, Truman, why don't you try to drive your ass all the way to the edge of town, see what happens.
Yeah.
Type of thing to ruin the illusion, which might make Vision, who is dead, spoiler alert probably, come apart or not be a corporeal being anymore. Wanda might not be able to keep the illusion anymore because this person is ruining everything. So that could be an ongoing mental situation. Kind of like Legion almost.
Yeah, I think if it gets anywhere near as it does sound like a weird kind of Noah Hawley Legion project, which I'm into. I think we need more weird, trippy.
And if it's just
stuff.
like a Family Matters style sitcom with these two characters, that could possibly be the most brave thing ever in the history of cinema or television in this case.
Especially if it doesn't go anywhere weird or super heroic.
No, it's just like it's like this kid's over here. He's got a machine to change him into a cooler guy.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine. Hello, Laura. I don't know what that voice was at all. It was supposed to be Urkel.
It's all right.
It was supposed to be Urkel, and
Did I participate in these events? You're just not quite getting the catchphrases right.
got any bagel spread? Guys, that's all the things that were announced. Well, not all the things, but all the things that people will click on to see us talk
Moon
about.
Knight and She-Hulk.
Oh God,
right?
Moon Knight and She-Hulk.
Yeah, jeez
Gotta
Louise.
talk about-
Son of a bee.
Ryan, why didn't you scroll my script down for me? Take your press releases. You're a piece of garbage. Oh yeah, we got Moon Knight,
And
we
Ms.
got
Marvel.
She-Hulk, we got Ms. Marvel, we got Kamala Khan. Oh, I'm so bad at this.
Racist.
Well, yeah, all
These are the ones we were most excited about.
discriminate against the brown woman, the green woman, and the white man.
All at once. All at once. Oh God.
And people out in the ether are going to be correcting me. Moon Knight is, I think, to my mind, besides the Thing, one of the only Jewish superheroes.
Oh.
In the comicdom, rather in Marvel comicdom.
Mazel.
Yeah, so that's pretty sick.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
People have been screaming for a Moon Knight show since they announced the Defenders. I feel like that.
Yeah.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah. Well, the street level. I represent the street level corner of the Marvel universe, and let me tell you, he's one of the major street level guys that people can identify with because he's too crazy to be a hero, but he's too like regimented and superhero-y to be like a Punisher killer.
Right.
So he's like right in this weird middle ground.
Yeah, we had to stop asking the question about Marvel characters getting their own movies or TV shows because we were sick of people saying Moon Knight.
It was always Moon Knight.
on
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
fights,
yeah.
So we just stopped asking that question.
Well, he's also very psychologically and complex, though. He's got multiple personality disorders. One of his personalities, the main one, is Mark Spector, a sort of a mercenary. The other one is a rich guy, sort of like Bruce Wayne, and the other one is a Matches Malone type of street information gathering character called Jake Lockley. He inhabits each of these characters almost equally. While he's also a fourth character called Moon Knight, who wears white at night to beat up criminals because he wants them to see him coming, which is insane and stupid, but
kind of cool and fun.
Yeah.
Chat's very angry that you didn't remember that Kitty Pryde is Jewish.
Oh, yeah, fine. Take me to task. No prize. Do I get the?
I'm with you guys.
No prize.
I'm really mad at
No
that. Chat gets a no prize.
I can't get my no prize.
And we got She-Hulk.
Yeah. I pitched She-Hulk on I think Movie Fights.
Yes, you did.
And I'm super excited to hear because I've always liked the fact. First of all, I like that they figured out somehow, some way to do She-Hulk because I've always thought She-Hulk was so weird, and but also like a really cool mix of like the craziest superpower ever, but also like the most down to earth job. It's like I'm a giant gamma irradiated lawyer.
Yeah.
And I love that. I wonder if they're gonna. I hope they do like She-Hulk 24/7 She-Hulk, where like she's always She-Hulk. I wonder how they're gonna do it. I'm curious.
Yeah.
To see, like, how in the hell are they gonna make She-Hulk look anything? I wonder. Well, I guess it could be maybe animated, maybe. But I don't
I'm
know.
getting to the point where look like I feel like Favreau's photorealistic future is here, and I think
But
you
she
can
can do that kind of character for like a 8-episode show where she's the main character and she's on screen all
She's also not a schnauzer.
always surrounded by fog.
Yeah. She's in the middle of a rainstorm.
She's always in a rainstorm.
It's a rescue She-Hulk.
It's a rescue She-Hulk, so it's
Time to
okay.
rescue She-Hulk.
So it's not weird. It's not weird.
Dude, I got lightheaded just now. Jesus.
Again, I love that they used rescue animals. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But that movie looks
But
creepy.
that movie looks super creepy.
When those dogs smiled over that spaghetti, you can't tell me that was
That's- I'm
adorable.
sorry,
or
that was
cute,
just odd.
because it was not.
Dude, those dogs and that meatball was the same as like that sewer grate and the It clown. Like this, it produced the same reaction in my
Yes,
body
accurate,
when I saw
100%.
those two images.
100% with their weird people eyes. I want to jump on Miss Marvel too, because I feel like when the Spider-Man news dropped, one of the big reactions from the internet was like, replace Peter Parker with Miss Marvel. Like, that's your younger sort of like fangirl, like can't believe that she's in the middle of all this proxy character. I feel like in the comics, with Peter Parker as a grown-up owner of his own business, I'm a little behind. I don't know if he still has his own massive company or not. Dan Slott, forgive me.
Yeah, no, they eliminated that.
Okay, that's all gone. But he's still a grown man. And Kamala Khan was sort of brought in to take that sort of young Peter Parker underdog spot in the comics, in my opinion, at least. And so I feel like this is Kamala Khan's a solid answer for Marvel if the Sony thing goes south.
Yeah, I mean, she's a new character. I don't know if she could really replace Spider-Man, honestly, and from a storytelling perspective.
Right, sure.
Right,
You have to do a lot of legwork to wedge that in there. Like, forget about that guy.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, they got a lot of
work.
legwork in general. Like all the main eventers are gone, and if you lose Spider-Man too, like they've
That's
got.
tough.
a lot of
And I didn't think about how much that may have emboldened whoever is causing the schism, because we don't know because we're not in those rooms, but whoever's causing the schism between Sony and Disney. If I'm at Sony, I'm like, oh,
it's the showrunner of Kamala Khan.
Well, okay, well, you guys got the big old swinging wiener, and everybody loves you, and they love your movies. They make billions of dollars. Good for you, buddies. But where's all your stars, bro? Like you're approaching the Golden State Warriors right now. They won a bunch of championships, and now they're on sort of a downslide. You can kind of, hey, buddies.
Yeah.
How about I help you? I can help you now, champ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that has to have contributed a little bit, because we're talking about Miss Marvel trying to replace Spider-Man. And again, it's not pitting those two characters against each other.
Yeah.
It's just pitting all that money and knowledge against each other.
Lyda in chat sort of agrees with you. With all due respect to Miss Marvel, Spider-Man's on another level of popularity, which I agree with. But at one point, like, Iron Man was here and Spider-Man was here too. You know, it takes the right push.
Well, and also she represents a market. Like, let's just really talk brass tacks. Just like a lot of other characters of recent note who've broken the billion mark. I think that she could do a similar thing on TV, given the fact that she represents a whole bunch of people and a new way to see a whole bunch of people as in the superhero world. And I think that's interesting, and I would love to see it.
Someone else asked, I think it was Nicole asked, just circling back to She-Hulk, do you guys have casting? Have you you love She-Hulk?
I mean, I love She-Hulk too much.
I can't remember who you pitched.
It's funny when people are like, hey, remember when you said that thing on Movie Fights?
Live internet, remember right now.
No idea.
Right now.
I don't remember. I remember being very satisfied with my choice, but I do not remember who I picked. I'm so sorry.
Well, also, they already got Gina Carano in The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
so they got a good candidate for me. But
Gina Gershon.
You know what? As his voice, yeah, as you know.
Well, I mean, it's going to be someone in a rotoscoped She-Hulk.
But also the thing people, okay, just the one thing I don't think got said about She-Hulk is what's interesting about her is what Dan was talking about. She's a person with a job who happens to be like a super giant person. So, but she doesn't have the angst that Bruce Banner has. She never had the tragedy, really. Yeah, she never had the tragedy of Bruce Banner. All this like, oh, everybody's dead. This is all bad. My mom. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. She was just like, dude, I can jump 1.5 miles. I can lift 175 tons in the cannon. You know what I mean?
And
I can
convince a jury of
Exactly. So it was just like, and there were so many times where she would try to be a lawyer person, and then started realizing that the star angle of being a super lawyer was working better for her until it didn't. And Dan Slott's run on her character. So you can play with a lot of things. She doesn't just have to be caveman lawyer sketch over and over again until she punches something.
Jenna says Gwendolyn Christie. Definitely has the build.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm just a She-Hulk.
I was waiting for that. I've been waiting for
I was created in a lab, and I got a transfusion from my cousin.
Literally just been waiting this whole stream for you to do this.
Excuse me.
Oh, and as far as lore, Brigitte Nielsen did tests for She-Hulk back in the canon days, back in the Electric Boogaloo canon days, and their best movies never made is a podcast I've done. We talked about the Spider-Man that almost were made. There was like between 5 and 9 Spider-Man movies that were almost made, and we talked about that. But yeah, they have pictures of Brigitte Nielsen as She-Hulk. It's mostly just Brigitte Nielsen with green makeup.
Right.
Not even full body. I'm talking about lipstick, eyeshadow, gloves.
Which is totally how they would have done it. They would have just gotten her green lipstick and just been like, like green hair. Before we get out of here, is there anything big? Obviously, D23 is going to roll through the rest of the weekend. And come Monday, is there anything that you want to be able to wake up and be like, oh, it's Christmas morning and I get to talk about this on SJU?
Well, I won't be on SJU on Monday morning.
Do you want to be?
I'll yell it.
You can just, yeah.
Well, I think that we are probably good odds that we'll have a new Star Wars trailer to talk about. Maybe learn some new stuff about that movie. Feige always has got something up his sleeve, so
yeah,
maybe something new with the MCU, with Marvel adding a movie here and there. He mentioned at Comic-Con that they didn't have time to talk about Black Panther. They didn't have time to talk about a lot of things that they are definitely doing sequels for. So I think we may roll out some more stuff there. He
Yeah.
added to Phase 4 today, so there's plenty of slots open left for him.
Someone else is going to come out this weekend and put on a hat with a logo on
So,
it.
yeah, there will be lots of logo-laden hats. So I think there's definitely tomorrow morning, I believe, is the big studio presentation, and we'll see what comes out of that, and then
And we'll be here live.
no.
Guys, you got any,
Just one thing. I love the fact that we're in the era of big budget television, because there's no way anybody would have ever, I don't care if you're Disney or Bisney or Frisbee, you would not attempt to do She-Hulk on damn TV. That'd be the stupidest, brokest ass thing you could ever try.
Yeah, I feel like not too long ago I would have been like, well, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard.
And Kamala Khan, her powers are so visually interesting and require such a massive amount of effects to go along with her Peter Parker-esque adventures as a student, that I just think this is beautiful. And I love that Moon Knight is like their cheap show. They're just like, hey man, we got a dude in the white suit. He got some little flechettes and a shuriken he throws are shaped like moons. He talked to Batman about Brandon. You know, that's the sort of, I just think that's their cheap Daredevil-esque show, which, you know, conceivably could be the most interesting because it has such psychological complexity. But then you got a teenager learning how to deal with their powers. You got a lawyer learning how to deal with all the inhibitions that come from being utterly indestructible. These are great triumvirate shows for Marvel.
I think it's going to be cool. I'm not going to lie. I've been rolling my eyes at doing this video pretty much all week because I was like, oh, let's see what they roll out for us at Disney Plus, and I walked. They got me. They stupid, charismatic actors saying buzzwords at me. They win. They won. They got me. We'll talk a lot more about Encore, the weird, horrible psychological experiment that is that show on Monday. I hope that show is getting all of the MCU actors' high school drama clubs back together. And,
I'm sure they want to see.
I'm sure
they want to see. I'm sure the Australian theater company that Chris Hemsworth was part of really wants to reunite and do
100%.
Do tell me more with him.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Them and the world of Jeff Goldblum, and we'll get down into the nitty gritty of Forky Asks a Question. What will that show be about?
I'm guessing Forky asking a question.
I think you're right, Dan. We'll find out Monday. You guys enjoy your weekend. Bye.